Hello everyone, welcome to another video of Design and Manage where we are building the city of Leonor. In the last video we have built this mid-density neighborhood over here with all these mid-density buildings, and that got us to a new problem, which is the unemployment level, which is at around 52%. So today what we're going to do is try and fix this as much as we possibly can by giving all of these people new jobs. So perhaps we can go back to our industrial sector over here and develop it a little bit more to provide jobs for all of these new people. After all, we have increased our population from like 2,000 to about 20,000 in the last video. But before we do that, there's actually something that I want to do, which is rework this road layout of West Sapling over here. After recording the previous video, I have taken a look at this, and I gotta say, there's something that's annoying me, which is this very obvious line where I'm highlighting with my mouse, where both grids meet. So that there's a very deep distinction between both grids, which I don't really like. I wanna try to make the difference in grid much more uniform and blurred. So perhaps we can make some adjustments in this particular area to make it look better. I'm also going to take the chance to work a little bit on the pathway network that I have here, because it's way too curvy, which I don't necessarily dislike, but I don't think it fits the theme that we have established when we have built the sapling residentials in this location. I want to make it fit more with what we have. And lastly, I think I also wanna work a little bit on this area. I think it's too bulky. There's a lot of tall buildings, which is not necessarily bad for a mid-density neighborhood, but I think I wanna lower the density a bit and make it look less like a block of concrete and a cement hell. I wanna try and make it a bit more livable and pleasant looking. So that's something that we can start right away. In fact, I've already done that. This is actually an old save game. So I'm gonna load the time-lapse of what I've done. Then I'm gonna boot the most recent save of this city. Then I'll talk you through the things that I've done. Alright, I think it's much better now. I have completely reworked the suburban layout of West Sapling, and I now think that the transition between both grids is much smoother than what it was. I particularly like this loop over here. I think it adds a lot to the layout. And I have also reworked the pathway network. Instead of being super wavy and curvy, just like we had, I now made it a bit more of a mix of curvy roads and also straight roads, similarly to the style that we have been creating. And the bridge now is also much straighter, and you can actually see the amount of people which are using this connection to go to their jobs at the factories. Overall, I think this thing turned out great. We no longer have that ugly straight line that splits the district in half, and I much prefer it the way it is right now. I've also done other things off camera. So first and foremost, I have added 2 additional extension wings to the medical clinic because it was over capacity. And I have also removed the UK themed high density buildings that we had on Sapling Avenue. I had initially zoned them to increase our population back in the previous video because we needed the taxpayers' money, but I think I'm gonna dedicate this avenue to high volumes of traffic, and as such I think I'll just reserve it to commercial buildings such as these ones, for example. I think this type of road would be adequate for like hypermarkets, gas stations, perhaps IKEAs, you know, things of that nature. And because of that, I actually think we can go into the districts and remove the heavy traffic ban policy out of it, because this road is now adequate for high traffic. And then finally, another thing that I've done, and what actually took me the most time, was a complete revamp of the mid-density neighborhood, or in other words, Hillside Crest. As I mentioned, it was too blocky with a lot of large-scale mid-density buildings, and I've completely reworked it to include more and smaller density buildings. I've tried to make a gradual transition in density where on the sides it starts with low density with the use of these row housing with a mix of both North American and European, mixed in with low density offices and also commercial, like for example, let's see if I can find the shop. Yeah, here it is. And then as we get closer to the center of the district, and as well as on the avenues, I try to incorporate slightly taller buildings. I particularly like the combination of these 2x4 North American mixed zoning with the 1x4 North American row housing. I think it looks really great, you know, these types of buildings together, so I try to incorporate this combination in several parts of the district. For example, over here you find it as well. And I've also done something else, which is to remove some of the segments of the row housing and planting a bunch of trees in there. And this is a way that I've found to add vegetation in this layout and make it more pleasant looking and in general more livable. I don't have a lot of footage of the rework I've done here. I've done most of the things off camera because it was a boring and trial and error process where I was gradually dezoning everything and zoning new buildings and see how they would look like, and if I didn't like, I would repeat the process all over again. But in the end, I think I'm quite satisfied with what I have, and I think I'm gonna progress and repeat this pattern as I extend this layout to the left side or to the west side. I've also added a lot of other things like this, you know, basketball court, and I've also, you know, changed the elementary school location once again. And right now it's facing the avenue, the central avenue, and it's right in the middle of the district. Now, I've also added an additional parking lot over here. I think it blends really well with the surroundings. And this park that I've said that I didn't like on the last episode, I found a way to make it fit by zoning a lower density commercial shop right next to it and decorating with a bunch of trees. I think what I've done here made this entire district much more interesting. It's still mid-density, it's still very urbanized, but it's actually a place where I would like to live in. I have actually lost a little bit of population with this rework. It went from 19,000 to about 15,000, which is of course not ideal to lose people like that, but I actually think that we have overdeveloped in the past video. And less people in the city also means less unemployment, and now it decreased from 52% to 45%. So we still have an unemployment problem, but it's now easier to fix because there's less jobs that we need to create. But enough rambling, I think it's time for us to go into the main topic of this video, which is create jobs and start working on our industries. I actually had a comment from Dashboard Fairy that was left on my previous video that could be not only the solution for this unemployment problem, but also a way to incorporate lore into this part of town. That gave me an idea for a backstory for this area. This area could have been a very dense forest in the past, which motivated the creation of a very developed forestry industry and heavy plantations for trees and other types of vegetation, to which was given the name of sapling. This actually motivated the creation of a small urbanization here, where the workers of this industry would live, and that would be this area here of Hillside Crest. This was the main foundation of this region, thus providing a way for exploiting the region of its natural resources and provide the entire region with lumber. As time went by and lumber started to become less relevant, and as the population of the town grew, the city started to expand sideways, and new urbanization and residential was built in the areas that were previously occupied by forestry industry. Thus, the entire southern side of the region is now dedicated to residential, and it's now a small town, and the only forestry available is located at the north side of the region, and that's something that I'm gonna work on. However, there's a peculiar problem with that, which is specialized industry in this game occupies a huge amount of land, and it also provides very little jobs. So although the development of a forestry industry here could potentially help with the unemployment issue that we have, I don't think that's enough to address it, and we need to combine it with a set of generic industry and also zoned office buildings. So before moving on with that idea, I think I want to exploit the area of the sapling industries a little bit more, and I think I want to extend it a little bit more to this side to create additional jobs for our citizens. On the past videos I've been looking at this area, and I thought that this little bay here would be actually perfect for a harbor. So I think we're actually gonna incorporate that as well. In fact, I think we can start with that. Sapling Industries could have been a small industrial district that was created to complement the existing forestry industry, to convert the gathered lumber into furniture and other wood-related products. Okay, so to make the harbor, I think I'll have to terraform the terrain a little bit. So I'm gonna grab the level terrain tool, and I think I'm gonna grab probably this height level. That should be enough over here. I'm gonna bump the brush strength all the way to 100%, perhaps decrease the size a little bit. And now I'm gonna simply extend the area here so that we have some land to work with. And I'm doing this just so we can now grab a normal road and start creating what will become our docks, or the docks for the harbor. So I actually think I want to get this orientation of this grid. So I'm gonna drag a road all the way here. That's just so we can get a base road over here. So kind of like this, okay? Now we can delete this segment. And now we can start building our keys. Now I think we can make another road here. And then perhaps a connecting point here. Okay, kind of like so. Now let's go at the 45-degree angle here and extend it over here. And now we can make, perhaps I want to extend the length Okay, and make another road angling at 45 degrees and send it all the way here. And now I think I want to make a pier, kind of a loading pier where ships can dock. So I'm gonna bring a piece of land. Actually, let's fill this entire thing with land. Now I'm gonna bring a road segment. Perhaps let's bring it a little bit closer. Okay, like this, and bring it back. Okay, so this can be our pier, I suppose. And I actually want to make sure that this is thick enough. So I'm gonna grab the Find It tool and see if I can find some cargo containers that I will want to use here. Okay. Yeah, I think this is large enough to place this this prop. Perhaps we can even go a bit thinner than this. Actually, you know what? I think this has the right thickness. So now I'm just gonna wrap the layout. Make a segment here, and I think I want to make another segment here as well. Now I can bulldoze the guiding lines, and I'm left with the final shape. Okay, so I think this is a nice shape for a harbor. Now we can grab the road tools and perhaps add a few keys, and that will create some walls on the sides of the roads, and that will allow us to then remove the land and let the water flow in. Okay, and now we just have to very carefully remove the land. I'm gonna resume the simulation, and hopefully this will go well and nothing will get broken in between. Okay, now we're gonna have some weird floating going on, but I suppose it will adapt with time. I wonder if there's a way to get rid of this water faster than just letting it dry. Perhaps if I raise the terrain a little bit here, that could potentially help. Okay, and now bring it back down. Okay, yeah, I suppose that works. Now there's some adjustments that we should do. Maybe remove this little bit of dirt on the sides and over here as well, but that can wait. Now, as I've said, this is supposed to be a loading dock for the ships. I find it in real life they build some things like this when the water level is too low or too shallow next to the shorelines, and ships do not have enough depth to go there, so they build these platforms that are farther away from the land where the sea is actually deeper, so that the ships can actually get to. Now naturally in real life they are done with usually I believe with a layer of concrete on top of a metal platform that's built under the water, and not using concrete keys all around like I've done here, but this is I gotta work with the tools that the game gives me, and this is better than nothing, I believe. But yeah, I guess it's time for us to start detailing. I think I wanna put a ship here that's gonna look very interesting, like this cargo ship. And let's see, perhaps I wanna put it right like this. Okay. It's slightly leaning towards its left side. I don't know why. Perhaps it has to do with the land. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Okay, I think this is close enough to the key. And the ship is pretty much straight, so yeah, that works. Now obviously this is going to be a fake harbor. It's not really going to work because first and foremost I don't have a real harbor unlocked, and second because I don't think this industry is going to be big enough to justify a decently sized harbor. So this is going to be a small harbor that was perhaps created to fuel the existing industries. And later on, as the region developed, more decently sized harbors were created, namely like, closer to the shoreline, probably over here and maybe over here as well in this little bay. But now I think I'm gonna get the surface painter tool and I'm gonna turn this into concrete. So let's see, we actually have two different types of pavement. We have this one and we have a lighter one. I think I'm gonna go with the lighter one. Okay, so this is a good start. I actually think I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity to level the terrain underwater before I forget. You cannot really see it on the surface level, but it will probably annoy me, and I think I'm gonna have to enable Anarchy to be able to modify this after the available tiles that I have. I think this is good enough. Now I think I want to add a crane to this harbor. And I actually think we only have one option when it comes to crane, which is this one, the construction crane, which is not ideal. It's not the type of crane that you would see in an harbor, but I think it's better than nothing. So let's put it here, probably rightly centered with the ship. Okay, that's cool. Now, these cranes, the ones that you see in a harbor, usually are not rotational cranes like these construction cranes. These are cranes that strafe left and right so that they can pick the stuff on the ships. Now, I think we can simulate that effect, that strafing effect, by simply changing the surface next to the crane on the sides. So perhaps we can get a differently sized surface. And I wonder, oh, it gets underneath the existing surface. That's a bummer. Okay, so I think I'll have to delete this and do a little bit of preparation. So I think I want to come here and bring it all the way here, I suppose. Okay, I think that works, and now we should get the other concrete surface. Okay, so I believe that works, and now we have a nice effect outlining the surface area of the crane. Now I actually believe we can add a little bit of decals here to warn the people and the workers not to get too close. So something like this. Can I actually use the line tool for this? So we can go all the way here. Okay, perfect. Now try to replicate it as best as possible on the upper end. Okay, now we can add these small ones. Okay, cool. Now let's go get those containers. So we actually have different levels for these. I think I'm gonna go with these ones, the mediums. And I think I wanna align it with the crane. So put it over here. Perhaps we can find some cool warehouses here. Okay, so I think this level 1 5x3 is super adequate to this area. So we can probably put 2 of these. Okay, and these are the ones that I believe need zoning. Otherwise they would just despawn. Now the problem with these assets is that I believe they are gonna remain available for rent, and there's a chance nobody actually moves here and work in these buildings, which is not very good, but they serve as decoration, which is alright, I suppose. Now I also think we can decorate this area a bit further. There's some trucks that we can put here, like these box trailers, which I believe are very, very fitting for the area. So perhaps we can put a row of these to kind of simulate a fleet. So let's put, I don't know, perhaps 5 of these. Okay, cool. And we can also use some concrete barriers to kind of protect the area. 2.7 meters seems adequate. So let's make a barrier here and perhaps over here as well. And now I think I have enough room for another crane in this area, perhaps a smaller one, so perhaps we can work on that. Okay, cool. And this crane is scooted a bit more to the right side. I think that makes it a bit more interesting. Now we can add its own container deck, like this. On this one, I'm not gonna add the ship and the moving inwards. Perhaps I can add some more containers to make it look more realistic. Okay, so kind of like this. That's pretty cool actually. Now I do not want to add a lot of buildings in this pier because hypothetically this is supposed to be a steel construction with the purpose of loading containers into the ships, and I believe it's not strong enough to hold a huge amount of buildings on top, so I think I want to keep it relatively light. So perhaps I'm going to leave this area empty. Perhaps we can put some more props like these trucks and whatnot, and another type of machinery. And I'm gonna keep the bulk of the industrial buildings on the coastline. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna detail the rest of the docks, but before I do that, I need to connect it to the main road network. So let's see, how exactly do I wanna do this? I think I wanna bring this road down, but I need to find a way how to slope it. And I certainly do not want to level this entire area and remove part of the mountain here. But perhaps I can go a bit further back, and perhaps I can make a curve, make this road slightly slope until it reaches this location. Let me just delete this segment. And make something like this. Okay, and this will give us a good elevation to start working with. And I think I want to bring this road here. Now we just have to connect both of these segments. Okay, so that's acceptable to me. Okay, so I think this is a nice basis for an industrial road layout next to the docks and to the harbor. And perhaps we can make another connection here. This one is supposedly going to be much simpler. I think there's enough space for us to make a decently sized slope, or is this too much? Actually, I think this is way too much. Way too steep. Yeah. Look at that. That seems like a nice access. Very decently sized ramp. And I think these could be the main access points to the industrial layout. Now I think we can start decorating the entire thing. Alright guys, so I have been working extensively on the hardware, doing a little bit of detailing, and in broad lines, what we have here? We have 4 different platforms, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. I scooted the platform that we had originally created a bit to the left side. I felt like we weren't taking much advantage of the available space. So I created an additional platform with 2 cranes, and I've done the same on this side as well. Some of the platforms have 1 crane, others have 2. I just try to mix it a little bit. And with this platform over here, I even feel like the ships have enough room to, you know, make a turn at around here without going into this coast or into this key. When it came to detailing, I have put a lot of containers, as you can see. And I've also put a couple of warehouses, but even though I think that probably this isn't very realistic because of all the arbors that I've seen, most of them are basically huge platforms filled with nothing but containers, so very large open spaces. But I tried to make it interesting, so I've added these warehouses as well, and some of those are already being populated. You know, this one, for example, is still empty and available for rent, but we have some other ones which are already being filled with goods, and we occasionally see some trucks heading down towards this layout, which makes it much more lively. Then there's also some other things that I've done. So for example, here we have these I don't even know the name of these, but these trailers for trucks. I think it's very realistic. They're just waiting to go pick up some containers from the warehouses to the loading docks. And perhaps we can go from left to right. So here we have a couple of warehouses. Then over here I've made a little area for a fleet of box trucks. And another storage area with a lot of containers and also warehouses. And then also some micro detailing over here with some containers and some box trucks. I have also put these fake gates in the entrances of the arbor. Of course, these do not work. They're merely decorative, but I think they look quite alright. Then I've also put some dedicated storage for specific resources. So for example, I have these silos for ore. I've done the same over here as well for lumber. So this is a lumber warehouse that's already being filled with some logs, and then we have a custom area with a log picker and also some random logs on the floor and log transporting trucks, etc. Then a couple of offices here with a custom parking space, another big container area for this dock, and we already see some trucks coming in and out, and we have another one leaving the warehouse, which is great. Then a bunch of warehouses over here, another area with gates. This is like the entrance for the docks with these fake gates, and also these small office buildings which serve as reception desks or kiosks or safety gates. A little bit of detailing on this corner as well, and then finally we have another dedicated parking area for trucks, wrapping up with an office on the side. Then of course I've also decorated everything with trees and tried to preserve as much of the land as possible in the construction of this arbor. And then in some particular entrance areas I've added keys to the roads, kind of to create this safety barrier, just to make the incline much smoother. I've done it here and also on this road over here as well. So let's make a district for this harbor and give it a name. Okay, and Palmer Creek is gonna be, of course, the sapling harbor. And with the addition of all these warehouses and small office buildings, we've managed to tackle our unemployment rate a little bit further, so now it's below 40%, but it's still very far away from our goal. If we take a look at the data and look at the unemployment rate, you can see that it is steadily decreasing, but we still have a bit over 3,000 people who are unemployed. But I think it's finally time for us to finally address the issue and actually start providing a solution. And for that, I think I'm going to expand sapling industries a bit to this side so that you can zone some more generic industry and provide more jobs for our citizens. So I think I'm gonna start with the road structure. So I'm gonna grab my 2-lane two-way highway over here and start making a road. Now I want this to be an old highway. This could be like an old national road that would connect this island to this part of the land here. That was done before the creation of this main highway. I want to make it as natural looking as possible, so perhaps we can follow the contour lines for elevation and perhaps make it a bit curvier than the rest of the layout. I think I'm gonna use Anarchy just to simulate what will eventually be a bridge that will connect to the other side. Okay, now I'm gonna continue the road towards the other side. Okay, so I think that's natural looking enough. And I also feel the gameplay is a bit too dark, and that's because it's winter time, so let me just adjust this a little bit. This is just so we can see a little bit better what we're doing. But now I think I'm gonna connect the avenue to the road. Yeah, actually I think this is a connection that you would see in an old road. You often don't have very complex interchanges, and this merging road actually has a triangle sign, so this one has priority, which is exactly what we want. Okay, cool. I think this is a nice entrance to the main industrial site. Now I think I want to extend the Sapling Industries road layout and somehow integrate this modern looking and rigid looking layout with the old national road. So I need to find a way to make it look good, and I think I'm gonna buy this tile here just to extend towards this direction as well. And let's see, perhaps I will want to adjust the highway a little bit and make it curve inwards. This avenue can extend here for the time being, so like this, and we actually should preserve the old roundabout. Now perhaps we can just make a set of roads that will serve as the guiding principles for the layout that we're about to build. So can make another connection to the highway here, and perhaps now I want to grab the old alley road and make kind of a structural foundation. Okay, so naturally what we have here is a road structure that is very differently shaped than the rest of the layout, and that's intentional. I think I want to have this as an older part of the city. Perhaps is one of the old areas that wasn't modernized, and I actually think it would be really cool to integrate these modern industries with some remnants of forestry industry that would be left at this area, as well as some farms perhaps. So now we just need to find a way to integrate this modern looking layout with this old layout over here. And I think I'm gonna start with this area and extend it towards this direction. Okay, and now let me try and grab a little piece of old road. Perhaps we can put some smaller factories here. Okay, so something like this, I suppose. Now let's start adding some factories. If we add some keys on this side, we can control the zoning, and we can put some smaller factories on this road only, like this. And from this piece of square or this piece of road here, perhaps we can extend a dirt road that will convert into a local road, which will go alongside the old national road. And this is where we're gonna put some farms and also maybe some small factories and forestry industry as well. In this area where the national road is slightly more elevated than the local road, perhaps we can make an underpass that from the local road that will go under the national road and eventually connect to this side of the motorway. So let's see, how do I want to do this? Perhaps the road tools will give us an idea. Perhaps we can use this elevated tool, probably here, I suppose. Okay, now we can try and lower the terrain. So something like this, and I'm not sure if that's enough clearance, probably not. So let's grab a lower elevation, like here for example, and try to make a bigger hole. Okay, yeah, so that's plenty of clearance. Okay, that's cool. Now we just need to bring the elevation back again. Okay, I think that works. Now let's grab the smooth terrain tool and try to make it better looking. And we can even add a few, I don't know, retaining walls. Yeah, like this. That will potentially help the road and the cars in case there's some landslide or something like that. I think we can even make this look a bit better. Yeah, there we go. Now let's see if I can spawn another road coming from this road that gives access to the arbor. Okay, and this is where I believe we can start making some farms. So I think, I don't know, let's start with a textile fiber farm, for example, and start it here. And I think I'm gonna leave a gap in between the roads so that we just can put a few trees, you know, a row of trees. Okay, so something like this, and of course we need to adjust the terrain. Okay, a nice piece of land. Okay, so unfortunately my game has crashed and I lost a little bit of progress and I had to rebuild this entire local road all over again, as well as this farm. But that's bridge under the water, so let's keep going. Something that I must do and cannot forget is to add some fertile land in this area, just to make sure that this farm is operational. Okay, now I want to create another farm, probably around here, I suppose. Okay, but this one is going to be a bit different. I'm going to remove the nodes or the operational area. Okay, and keep the building alone, because I'm perhaps gonna make this into a custom farm. So first and foremost, let me just adjust the terrain here. Perhaps I can get a grass surface. I think the number 2 is this lighter green grass. And maybe we can make a custom square. So perhaps something like this. Let's remove these trees out of the farming area. And maybe we can also put some greenhouses here. I think that will be very, very fitting for this area. So let's put one here and another one here, I suppose. Let's see how well it looks. I think that's fine. And now we can adjust the fertile land area, which is not fertile, it's just some grass, up to this side. Okay, and maybe we can even create some paths for realism. I don't think we can remove these little pathways here. Okay, so this works, and let's do the same with the other one. And now I think we can adjust the surface area of both of these farms and bring it a bit more towards the road. Okay, now we can outline everything with trees, and hopefully this area is gonna look great. Okay, so these trees, especially the oaks, help to outline the farming area much better and make it look very cool. And now something else that we can do, perhaps we can add a custom plantation to this side here. And perhaps I'm gonna use some apple trees if I can find them. And I think I'm gonna make this farm with the line tool. Maybe we can spread them by 5 meters apart. Oh no, that's way too low. Let's try 10. Okay, I think that works. Okay, so this is a decently sized farm area, very cozy and friendly. And now we can move on to this area, and perhaps here I'm gonna put a little bit of a forestry industry. And let's see, perhaps this is gonna be a good place for it, right alongside this local road. Okay, and perhaps we can make a little bit of a clearance here. Now we can define the operating area. Okay, cool. And here perhaps we can make another farm. I think I've made my point across on how I want to develop this area, so I think I'm gonna do the rest off camera, or maybe on camera, but on time-lapse mode, and I'll meet you when I have this area much more polished. Alright guys, so here's another progress update. I have managed to detail this area quite a bit with some farms and some forestry industry as well. So perhaps I can give you a quick breakdown of what we have. So I have extended this tree plantation over here, which I think looks really well on top of this hill. And this was complemented with these UK low density residential. I think they look really well as isolated farmhouses. So I put quite a bit of those, actually only 2 of them. So we have one here and we also have another one over here as well. This one is a bit different, looks more brownish. But yeah, this is like a custom farm. Then we have a couple of forestry industries, which at the moment have no trees, but I suppose as time goes by they will automatically plant some. And I suppose we already have some workers working on all of these farms. Yeah, there we go. Then we have another custom farm here with a tree plantation, and this one I actually detailed quite a bit by adding these silos, which work for storage for these types of buildings, and also greenhouse and a little tractor as well. I have also added this little custom area. This is a small forestry hub with a log warehouse, which at the moment is empty and available for rent. But I've also added these silos and also these, I don't even know what this is, but this is some wood processing industrial facilities, I believe, because these were on the forestry tab of the Find It mod. So I suppose they're related with forestry. But yeah, I put quite a bunch of those. Then we have some piles of logs, a log picker, this thing, the wheeled harvester, and some log trucks as well. Then of course I've also extended the industrial layout to this location as well, just to give our population a bit more jobs. And speaking of jobs, if we take a look at the employment rate, it's now at 4.7%, so that is a huge improvement. And if we take a look at the unemployment rate evolution, yeah, we have been doing quite a lot of progress here. So this is how everything looks like during the winter. It's now March, probably spring already. Let's see how this thing looks in the summer. So I'll just have to go to climate and set it to 4.8, 4.9. And yeah, very green, very luscious. Now I need to be mindful that in the future I'll probably wanna get a train line all the way to the harbor. I see myself wanting to do that kind of stuff, and when that time comes I can either choose to demolish this part of the industrial layout if we no longer need the jobs. Perhaps that will be the most sensible choice, and bring the railroad all the way here and perhaps create a train station or a cargo station in this area. Or I can even bring the railroad from this location and cross the river here and perhaps make the train station in this area and extend the harbor towards that location. But that's plans for the future. And this is if I want to bring a train line here. At the end of the day, this is a fake harbor which doesn't really have a functional purpose, so it might not make sense to complement it with a cargo station. In between recording sessions, a new detailer patch has released, and now we have a bunch more tools like these roads, and this is literally the first time I'm looking at this. I haven't taken the chance to explore this, and also some new detailing tools for the trees and whatnot, so we don't need any mods for this anymore. But that's something that I need to explore in the future videos. But anyway guys, I believe that's enough progress for one episode. We've done way too much stuff and the video is getting rather long, I suppose. In the next video we have a couple of options. Perhaps we can extend this farming area all the way to this location here, or maybe work a little bit more on the sapling town, or even create some more forestry and farming area in this northern area over here. So we have quite a bit of possibilities. Let me know what you prefer. But anyway, that's all from me today. I'll see you guys on the next video. In the meantime, take care and have fun.